Morning peeps, good morning everyone, how's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Alright, before we talk about the Beterbiev-Bivol undercard, which was announced last night, quite a positive reaction, I felt. Turkey also mentioned about the possibility of a Riyadh season Africa. I think that's the first time he's mentioned it publicly. I've spoken to him about it. You guys know that I've been pushing it quite a lot. I really want it to happen. It's still unlikely, but at least now it's in the conversation. He was talking about Martin Bakole versus Yili Zhang, and he said he wants to put on either a big fight card in China or a big fight card in Africa. Now, if this were to happen, I am taking full credit. It's true. I ain't playing. I'm taking full credit because I have been pushing this agenda, not just Riyadh season, but I've been pushing this agenda for a while that a big fight needs to happen in Africa. I spoke to Martin Bakole, 2-3 days ago, and I said, look, Martin, you need to push this as well. Like, you know, you're a big name now in Congo. There needs to be a big fight in Africa. And hopefully that has filtered through to Turkey, and that's why he's now speaking about it, because I think it would be spectacular. Again, look, I think it's more likely to happen in China, but it's now in the conversation, which is good, which means even if it doesn't happen with Martin Bakole, I do think there is a chance that there is a big Africa event, or even a small one, just anything to kickstart it. But I do think there's an African event potentially in 2025. All right, let's get up this Beterbiev-Bivol fight card. It was announced yesterday. I put it on my Twitter as well, and I just simply said thoughts. And I was having a look at the reaction to that tweet, and I think it was 80 to 90% positive. And you know, you can't please boxing fans. So when you see that, it's like, okay, cool. People are excited by it. You know what I will say? I am so happy. And normally when an injury happens, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. But I am so happy that Beterbiev-Bivol is happening now and not July. I mean, so look, I would have wanted it then, right? But I almost felt like it was being forgotten and squeezed out because of this 5 versus 5. Like, it was like, oh, 5 versus 5. Oh, and by the way, we've got Beterbiev-Bivol. And I was like, well, what's going on? We've got the two best light heavyweights on the planet. It's an undisputed fight, both unbeaten. This should be the top of everyone's agenda, but I almost felt like it was Frank versus Eddie and all the matchups, and Wilder's back versus Zhang, and I almost felt like Bivol Beterbiev kind of got moved to one side. Now it is the main attraction. It's the main attraction. And by the way, look, I would happily just have this as a one fight card. That's how much I care and want to see Bivol versus Beterbiev. Like, I think this is going to be sensational. I really do. Like puncher versus boxer, both Russians. They both trained in the Russian team. Beterbiev was a senior and Bivol was a junior. So sometimes I do feel like Beterbiev looks down at Bivol like, you were a junior, dude. I honestly, I can't wait for this fight. But look, the undercard has been announced. There's one fight that I thought might have been on it. I've been hearing rumors about it. It's not on the card, and that's Akoli versus Riakporhe. I don't know how serious or how far they got in negotiations. I don't even know if negotiations happened, but I did hear rumors about it, but it's not on the card. But it doesn't take away from the card. Sky Nicholson versus Raven Chapman. It's the first female fight on a Riyadh season card. Also, Sky Nicholson, the current WBC featherweight champion. Raven Chapman has been the WBC international featherweight champion for, I think, about 4 fights. So she deserves this opportunity. Look, Sky wants Amanda Serrano. She's not going to get Amanda Serrano. It's just not going to happen. So you almost have to make yourself the attraction, if that makes any sense. You almost have to make yourself the draw. I think Sky's doing that. So yeah, good fight, that one. Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron. There's a few people, again, reading the tweets, I was like, 1 second, Liam's lost. He lost to Lyndon Arthur last time out. Remember, it was a split decision. That was a close fight. Why is Liam getting the opportunity? This is a step up for Ben. All right, forget Liam for a second. This is a step up for Ben. Like, Liam's a better fighter than that Ezra Arinyeka. He's a better fighter. As much as, like, I think Ben's going to go here. I think he's ceiling so high. But you have to push him correctly. I do wonder if there was a Lyndon Arthur conversation. I think Lyndon would have taken the fight, so maybe not. But I think that's a good fight. I think Liam will push Ben. Ultimately, I think Ben will show that he's a level above and get the job done. But I don't mind that fight. Again, I know Liam's coming off a loss, but it's still a step up for Ben Whittaker. This one's interesting. OPETAIA versus Jack Massey. Obviously, Jack Massey getting the victory against Isaac Chamberlain last time out. The reward is OPETAIA. Trust me when I say this, OPETAIA wanted everyone. Obviously, the main man he wanted was Chris Billam-Smith, who fought on that card that Jack Massey fought Isaac Chamberlain. But Chris Billam-Smith came out and said, look, I need more time. Like, Chris Billam-Smith has a fight camp. He knows how long it takes to get into top shape, and he's going to need to be in top shape for OPETAIA. And he's like, that's just not long enough. That's not long enough. I felt there could have been a bit here where OPETAIA was like, okay, I'm going to wait for you. Let's do this on the Fury Usyk card. I think there maybe should have been that, but OPETAIA wants to fight. Good luck to Jack Massey. If you're Jack, you'll take confidence from the performance against Joseph Parker. That was a good performance, right? Joseph Parker a lot bigger, and you'll take confidence from the way he finished the fight against Isaac Chamberlain and the way OPETAIA finished the fight against Marius Bradis. Now, obviously, look, Massey's no Marius Bradis, but for once we saw a little chink in the armor with OPETAIA. He is human. You can beat him. So look, we'll see how that one plays out. The main fight of the undercard fights, Fabio Wardley versus Fraser Clark. Fantastic fight. Fantastic fight. The first fight, like, I hate draws. I hate draws in boxing. But that almost felt like, okay, that can be a draw. Do you know what I mean? Because that meant we were going to see it again. So it's a really good fight. There'll be some saying that should have been on a boxer card over here. Again, prime time, main event. I get it, but these fighters want to get paid, and they're probably going to get paid more here in Saudi than they would have fighting at Portman Road or the O2 Arena. But it's a really, really good fight, and the winner, I think, puts himself in a position to really crack into that top 20, maybe top 15, but definitely top 20. Chris Eubank Jr. is back. He's back. We've not seen him since he fought Liam Smith. Be interesting to see who his camp is with here, because he's been calling out Crawford quite a bit recently. Obviously, Crawford's trainer Bomac. I wonder if he's going to stick with Bomac. That seemed to be a really good team. It's good setup. Obviously, again, I thought he was at his best against Liam Smith. Bomac was in the corner. He takes on Kamil Zaramata. I remember when I saw this yesterday, I was like, Kamil Zaramata. I was like, oh, I remember you. You fought Gennady Golovkin. I remember him. That was way back, 2017, 2018. Let me have a quick look and see what Kamil's done since. I haven't checked this. 34 now. So have a look. So since that Golovkin fight, which was 2020, apologies, he fought Munguia. Munguia beat him. It says retired. I can't remember how that fight played out. Since that one, he's been unbeaten, but there's a couple of draws in there. He's not really fought anyone of note. Fought a guy that was 45-8, fought a guy 12-4, 10-4, 13-12, and last time out fought Abel Mina, who's 17-3, and it was a draw. So yeah, this is definitely a comeback fight, if you like, for Chris Eubank Jr. And I'm not a fan of these comeback fights. Chris is in shape. Again, he's coming off a really good win. There were no injuries, I don't think. Go straight back in. Go straight back in. You're not a novice anymore. You are, what's Chris, 34, 33, 34? Yeah, 34-year-old. Let's go straight in. What are we doing? Why are we wasting time? But yeah, look, Chris Eubank Jr. is on the card. One thing I will say here, you got a lot of personalities on this card. I can't wait to do the grand arrivals and the interviews. I mean, Ben Whittaker on the card, OPETAIA on the card, Fabio and Fraser on the card, Chris on the card, and then the co-main event, Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina. Some have critiqued this. I've critiqued it a little bit. Look, again, I said I understand why Joe's taking this fight, because if this comes across your table and you're Joe Cordina, I mean, co-main event of Bivol Beterbiev, you're getting paid. You got a chance of fighting a pound for pounder. You beat him, it's fucking red panty. You know what I mean? I get it. For Shakur Stevenson, it's a weird one. You're fighting a guy that's moving up a weight class. Yes, I know Joe's fought at lightweight before, but you're fighting a guy moving up a weight class, coming off a loss. It's a strange one. Were there no other 135 pounders? Is this a case of Eddie signed him to a 1 or 2 fight deal and this is Eddie doing Joe a favor? I don't know. But this has probably been the fight that's been critiqued the most. It's a shame for Joe, because obviously, look, Joe, if he beat Kakachi, Joe jumping up, then it's a fucking great matchup. It's a great matchup. But because Joe is coming off a loss, and it still is a loss with a question mark for me as an asterisk, just because, again, I thought the beginning of the end was that punch after the bell. I was ringside and he never recovered from that, never recovered. But I still think Joe Joe will ask the questions because Joe's a very good boxer as well, and we know, you know, Joe can crack a little bit. But ultimately, this is still boxer versus boxer, and Shakur's the better boxer. So, yeah, so that's the card. Scores on the doors for this one. I love the Ben Whittaker fight. I'm not mad at OPETAIA, just because, again, I know that he wanted everyone and couldn't get anyone. And Jack's not a scrub. Jack's a good fighter. He's tough, but OPETAIA is tougher. Fabio versus Fraser, fantastic fight. Good to see Chris Eubank there. And Shakur versus CORDINA. Let's not forget the main event as well. Beterbiev versus Bivol. That's a solid 8. I think that's an 8. I'm intrigued by a few of these matchups, and I think the build up to this, like the week's going to be very interesting. Like the press conference is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for that. I really can't. But yeah, what do you guys think of it? Honestly, let me know your thoughts. What I will say, by the way, looking at this now, I mean, Ben Shalom was on the outside looking in. It felt like that, right? It felt like this was just Frank, Eddie, and a couple of top-ranked fighters sometimes. Now, all of a sudden, you look at this card. I mean, Ben's got Ben Whittaker. Ben's got Jack Massey, I believe. Ben's got Chris Eubank Jr. Ben's got both Fabio and Fraser. I mean, Ben's got the majority of the fights or the fighters on this card. Interesting. Very interesting. Which is good. I feel like these Riyadh season cards shouldn't be dominated by one promoter. I mean, the promoters should go and do their own thing and then almost come together like Avengers assembling for the Riyadh season cards. So good luck to Ben for getting this opportunity, and good luck to the fighters as well, going to get paid. All right, anything else before we wrap? Ready or not, Christian and Bealey position for Canelo Alvarez, ain't getting that fight. Erislandi Lara looks to add to legacy with win against Danny Garcia. It won't add to your legacy. It won't. Let's stop playing games here. It won't at all. I think, you know what? Very quickly on the fight. Very, very quickly on the fight that Sky Nickerson that will take her to that next level in terms of profile. It's Alicia Baumgardner. I was thinking about this, but they're friendly. They're too friendly. They're never going to fight. But that's the fight. That's it, right? Puncher versus boxer. Like that is your 100% definition of puncher versus boxer. Alicia Baumgardner, we know, can crack a bit. And even if some people feel like she maybe, you know, we haven't seen that power for a while, she can still hit. She can still hit. And Sky Nickerson can't be touched in the ring, it seems. I mean, she avoids every punch possible. So that's the one, really. But I don't know. They're friendly. But then again, that can solve a lot of problems. All right, guys, girls, peace and love.